Associate Professor of Surgery and Division of MIS CFS Surgical Director. Since 2018, Michael Stroud has served as the Administrative Director of the UCSD Center for the Future of Surgery, which is a world-class facility advancing surgery techniques by investigating, developing, testing, and teaching procedures that will revolutionize the field of surgery. Professor Stroud is responsible for CFS business and operational management. And I would like to now turn it over to the capable hands of Professor Michael Stroud. Welcome.
Hello, thank you, Susan. And thank you all for joining today. Yeah, so as Susan mentioned, we're very fortunate here at UCSD to have one of the largest surgical training centers in the world. This center is a thought by our medical director, Dr. Santiago Horgan, who is a world-renowned minimally invasive surgeon. When he arrived here, he believed that surgeons should go through live training, hands-on training and simulation similar to what pilots do in the airline industry to ensure that they can safely use new devices, they can safely use new technologies, and they are up to speed on all the latest and greatest procedures and techniques in the field of surgery. So when he arrived here 12 years ago, he worked with the chair of surgery at the time to create this center, and it is now one of the largest, most capable centers in the country and in the world. I am going to share a short PowerPoint presentation that will give you an overview of our center. And then I will also point you to a virtual tour that we have on our website as well. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So on this presentation, I'm showing our website, and we also have a virtual tour that I'll take you through quickly after this presentation. So as I mentioned, CFS is a world-class training center. We are testing devices, advancing surgical techniques, and we are revolutionizing the field of surgery. So whenever there's new devices, new robotics in the field of surgery, it comes to CFS where we test it, we give feedback on it, and we also can take new devices, help perfect them, teach and train surgeons who have been, performing surgery for 20 years on old technologies, and teach them, retrain them on newer technologies. And all this is with the goal of improving patient outcomes. So a lot of what we do also is minimally invasive rather than open. Decades ago, when most procedures were open, now everything is moving toward minimally invasive, small incisions, and that can help shorten hospital stays. It can reduce chances of infection and ultimately improve patient outcomes. So just a short summary of our capabilities. We have 22 general surgery stations, so we can do pretty much any type of procedures on those stations. We also have a hybrid OR that has a robotic imaging machine called a C-arm. We have a 15-station microsurgery lab. We have 2 Da Vinci robots. So Da Vinci robots are made by Intuitive. Those are sort of the gold standard for minimally invasive robotic surgery. And we have all the latest and greatest equipment here. We also process all of our instrumentation here on site, sterilize everything. And we have in the telemedicine building, if some of you are familiar, we have a lot of classrooms and auditoriums here. So we can hold very large surgical training courses that include didactic spaces. So just a couple photos of some hands-on training here. And each of our stations are equipped with, you can perform any type of surgery, as I mentioned on there. We have the surgical lights, monitors, insufflation. We have energy devices, endoscopic light sources, and the equipment for Olympus endoscopes as well. Two of our newest spaces, which I wish you guys could see in person, but maybe next year. But this is our new space. It's incredibly modern. We have a hybrid OR. So a hybrid OR, which is the picture on the top right, this is an OR that combines imaging and surgery real time. So it has a robotic C-arm right here where my arrow is. That C-arm can come over the table and take images, do a 360-degree spin and take images of the patient. So this is very useful in vascular surgeries, neurosurgery, spinal surgery, any type of surgery where you need those images real time in those small spaces where you might be implanting a device or you might be placing a catheter and you really need to have navigation of the body to really have pinpoint accuracy for the surgical procedure. We also have over here at the top right, it's called a wall of knowledge. It's an interactive display. So it's a touch wall where you can move images around, you can resize images, you can put up PowerPoint presentations, you can have surgical procedural videos, you can write on this screen as well. So it's really meant to be a truly interactive teaching hands-on room. And then on the bottom left, this is a photo of our microsurgery suite. So we have 15 microsurgery stations. Each station is equipped with Zeiss picoscopes. So those scopes are used a lot in head and neck or otolaryngology procedures, but they're also used for plastic surgery, neurosurgery, and other specialties. So microsurgery is basically any surgery using a microscope. And so we have an instructor station here in the middle. So this big column has a microscope and a station where the instructor can show what he or she is doing on the microscope across all of the monitors in the room, or can switch it up and show what each individual learner is doing at their station. As I mentioned, in the telemedicine building, we have a number of didactic spaces to accommodate large courses. We have learning centers here, conference rooms, and we have 2 auditoriums that can accommodate up to 350 people. And so this type of training center really attracts large courses, national level courses. It's great for UCSD because, you know, we have some of these large national associations that put on courses here at UCSD. Surgeons flying in from all over the country that step foot on our campus, come into this training center, and they're really, really wowed by what they see here. So it really puts UCSD on the map for healthcare and surgical training. I'm going to pause there to see if there are any questions so far before I head into the virtual tour that we have on our website. Does anybody have any questions so far about what we do here? Okay, great. Let me go ahead and share our virtual tour.
So I don't know if you saw my question, Dr. Stroud. Who are you training on? Are you using cadavers or?
Yeah, so we are using cadavers. We use live animals. We can use dry models, tissue, but we mostly use cadavers and live animals here. We don't do any live patient care. So it's all simulation using human cadavers and live animals in some cases. Okay, so I'm going to share the virtual tour. Can everybody see the virtual tour Center for the Future of Surgery?
Yes.
Great. So this is located on our website. You can find it on our homepage. And when you click into it, it's sort of like similar to if you were shopping for a home, there's 3D tours of homes now. But you can walk through our space. This is our front desk here. So if I just turn, you can kind of see the hallway. We're in the basement of the telemedicine building on the medical school campus. And so we're going to turn this way, or we're going to walk through these double doors over here. And then we're going to turn over this hallway and come into one of our ORs.
It's not advancing.
It's not advancing. Oh, okay. Let's see.
On my screen, it looks like you have to push the go button. There you go. Now it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're walking towards our ORs here. You can see we have scrub sinks just outside of our ORs. We're going to walk into this OR to the left. Is it advancing?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've stepped inside one of our ORs, and you can see we have multiple stations in here. We have an imaging machine right here. This is called an O-arm. And so that can take images inside the body for minimally invasive placement of things like spinal implants. We have 8 stations across this space. So we can do up to 8 stations simultaneously. We can have up to 50 people in here training across those stations. So it's nice and collaborative. I'm going to walk back out to our hallway here. Is it advancing?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Walk down this hallway. Here's another one of our ORs. If I can zoom in, or if you can see the name on the wall plate, this room is called the 007 room. So when our center was designed, Dr. Santiago Horgan wanted a space where industry could come in and work on super secret things. So protected IP, if they're developing a new device, to come into this room and work with a surgeon in privacy. So I'm turning to the wall here. There's some closed circuit television here in this room, so industry can work with engineers. And then we have frosted glass here on the door for privacy as well. So he named this, Dr. Santiago Horgan named this 007. It's our small.
So this is rented out to private companies?
We do. So we rent the space out, and we have a lot of industry sponsored labs here, which helps cover the cost of our operations.
Wow.
I would say about half of our courses are industry sponsored courses, while the other half are UCSD departments that are giving their residents hands-on training.
Are there any procedures that were developed in that 007 lab that you'd be at liberty to tell us, yes, it was created or developed here?
Yeah, so Olympus, when they came out with their one of their microscopes about 10 years ago, a very high-powered microscope, that was tested at CFS for the first time anywhere with surgeons, and they received feedback and perfected it here at UCSD.
Great, thank you.
There's more recently, there's a local company who's testing out a new hernia device that they have done some survival studies in there to get FDA approval on their device. So I'm walking into two additional ORs that we have. In this room, we have a couple of our robots. So if I'm looking to the right here, I'm going to actually walk a little bit closer to the robots. These are Da Vinci's. We have two of them. So these robots, as I mentioned earlier, are kind of the gold standard in robotics and surgery. So the surgeon would sit here at this console where this chair is, and the surgeon will control the robot that's over here by the OR table. So the patient would be laying right here where this this belly model is, and the robotic arms, which are right here, would be controlled by the surgeon sitting at the console. And so there's some benefits to robotics. With this particular robot, one of the benefits is the surgeon is sitting in the resting position. Arms and elbows are resting on this armrest right here while they're controlling the robot. Their head is resting on the console, the top of the console here. And so there's less fatigue for the surgeon, particularly for long surgeries. This is also a minimally invasive robot. So the instruments that go onto this robot, they perform very small incisions, very controlled movements with robotics. And so, you know, the whole point of the robotics is to create less surgeon fatigue, to perform minimally invasive surgery with more controlled movements, and ultimately to shorten hospital stays and improve patient outcomes.
Dr. Stroud, I know in some developing countries there are robotic surgeries, but that are controlled remotely. Are you doing anything like that?
Not quite yet, and that's due to some of the network delays when there's large distance between the surgeon console and the robot itself. So they are trying to perfect that, you know, possibly with 5G, maybe as things get faster over networks, that they'll be able to do that, but it's not quite there yet.
Wow.
So I'm going to walk out of this room. We're going to head over to our new spaces. Am I still advancing?
Yes.
Great. So this is our new space that we built out in 2019. I mentioned we have a microsurgery suite and a hybrid OR. So we'll head into the microsurgery suite first. And this hallway is actually, if I turn back to this hallway, this is a good picture spot when you guys come in for an in-person tour. So this is our 15-station microsurgery suite. I mentioned earlier that this is the instructor station here in the middle. So if I walk around the instructor station and turn back toward it, you can see that there's a microscope station here in the middle. These are head holders here. So if we're doing a neurosurgery lab, we might have heads located at each of these stations to perform neurosurgery. The instructor can show what he or she is doing across these monitors in the room. And then each individual learner can show what they're doing on their monitor. And again, microsurgery is just surgery using a microscope. Okay, I'm going to head out of that room and we're going to head into the hybrid OR. So we're in our hybrid OR now. This is the patient bed, the OR table. This is the robotic C-arm that I mentioned will come over the table and do a 360-degree spin to take images of the patient. And those images can be broadcast onto this big screen here. You can also put PowerPoints on this screen. You can have videos. And so it's truly meant to be a teaching and hands-on room combined.
I'm wondering if you saw the question, is microsurgery or robotic surgery already available at UCSD?
It sure is. All of this equipment that we have here is available in either Jacobs Medical Center or Thornton or the Hillcrest hospitals.
Dr. Stroud, this is certainly underlining the importance of people being willing to give their body to science for this kind of important research. What is done with the cadavers afterward? Are they returned to the family if they so choose, or are they incinerated?
Yeah, so they're typically incinerated here at UCSD. So UCSD has one of the largest body donation programs, and it's here on the medical school. And the donors are prepped here at the medical school, and they are used in various labs, including here at Center for the Future of Surgery. And then they are cremated on site as well.
And are the ashes returned to the family if they so choose?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I can find out from Dr. Scott Barton, the director over there at Anatomical Services.
Just wondering, I'm thinking our members might be interested in knowing this. Thank you.
That might be a good tour as well. That's very interesting over there.
Huh, okay.
Other questions?
I typed in a question, doctor, on chat.
Yes. Let me see if I can pull it up.
How do you choose patients to either go through micro or robotic surgery?
Yeah, so it really depends on what the surgeon uses in the OR. And so, microsurgery is used a lot for, like I said, head and neck or neurosurgery. In otolaryngology, it'll be used a lot with ear implants. Hand surgeon will use microscopes. Plastic surgery will use microscopes. And so it really depends on if the surgeon is using the microscope in the OR.
And are those normally covered by regular insurance, or there's a higher co-payment from the patient?
If it's not a cosmetic procedure, it's covered just the same as any other.
So it's just like a regular doctor doing the surgery.
Correct. Yep.
Are nurses trained in this facility to assist the surgeons?
It's not as common that we have nurses here. Occasionally we'll have physician assistants or other OR staff that are in the training as well. But sometimes we have occasionally had nurses in here as well, but it's mostly surgeons.
And do you have visiting surgeons who are coming in to train?
Yeah, we do get visiting surgeons as well. If they're, if they're spending a year with the department, then they'll also come in and sit in on some of the hands-on trainings that those surgeons in the departments are also doing.
This is amazing stuff. Really, really incredible. Huh.
Is there a special certification for a doctor to be performing, or do they just take those classes? What are the requirements for a doctor to be doing this type of a surgery, doctor?
Yeah, so our surgical residents, they're required to do hands-on training here. They're here at CFS once a week doing training, hands-on training. I do know other resident programs also require this, although we do know that because of our center, UCSD surgical residents get more training than almost any other resident program in the country. And then as far as if it's a practicing surgeon, if they've been out practicing for a number of years, but then they're going to start using robotics, newer technologies. A lot of the companies that manufacture the robots have certification requirements. So for example, the intuitive robot that I showed you guys, that one does require a certification process in order for the surgeon to be able to use the robot. So for example, if a surgeon has been performing hysterectomies without robotics for a number of years, and now they want to start performing hysterectomies with a robot, which is very common, they will need to go through a certification process to train and prove that they're proficient on the robot prior to performing that hysterectomy on a live patient.
And they have to get recerted every couple of years?
I'm not sure if there's a recertification process on that particular robot. It really depends on the technology they're using.
Mm-hmm. There was a question about whether the windows there are for observers to be able to see.
Yeah, so in this room, because we're using imaging and fluoroscopy in here, so this is like an x-ray machine, a fancy x-ray machine, you have to wear lead vests. But if you're behind this wall, this is a kind of a control room back here. This glass is lead, and these walls are lead lined. So you're protected and you don't have to wear protective shielding behind this wall. And you can observe from back there.
Well, this is incredible stuff. And I will share personally that I had robotic surgery at UCSD in January, and it was much less invasive. And the doctor told me he'd been trained here. So I thank you very much for your work.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
So really great stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool seeing all the new technologies come through here and all the robotics. And it's also really rewarding when we have non-UCSD surgeons who come here for training. They might fly out from a different part of the country and they see this place and they're wowed by it, and they say this is better than what I have in my OR. So we're really fortunate to have this center here. It really lifts UCSD's reputation as far as healthcare and surgical training.
Yes. Another question in the chat, does the use of X-ray restrict the time allowed for those in the surgery?
Typically, no, because these images in surgery are very short duration. You know, it's a quick image of where the surgeon might be placing a catheter or a device. It's not very high exposure to radiation.
So where does UCSD School of Medicine rank in US rankings? You know, with this amazing center and what's going on here, I'm imagining it places us near the top.
You know, I'm not sure what our ranking is. And the interesting thing about this center is, you know, even though we're located on the med school, we do some things with med students. Our trainees are typically post-med school. They're postgraduate. They're in a surgical residency program, or they're practicing surgeons who
Yes.
are training on new technologies.
Got it. All right, members, any other questions for Dr. Stroud? Do other UC surgery training programs send residents over?
They sure do. We host a number of courses, regional courses, where UCLA, UCI, USC residents and surgeons will come down here. Loma Linda, we host courses for Loma Linda every year. So yes, we are used by regional medical centers, educational institutions who have residency programs.
Are there other UCs that have a similar center?
Not quite like this one. You know, they all have a place where they can do some hands-on training. A lot of times it's just maybe one or two stations or one room or space. This is really unique.
Okay. A question from Fran Shepard. Go ahead, Fran.
Yes, when we went through in person, they showed us how they pay our friends and neighbors to be actors and actresses, to be patients.
Yeah, so that's the center that's adjacent to ours. It's called the Simulation Training Center, and they do more courses with med students where there's standardized patient rooms, and they'll bring in actors and actresses. They'll give them a scenario, and the med student needs to interview, diagnose, learn bedside manner, all those things.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other questions. Last chance, members.
I have one.
Go ahead, Betty.
Will most of this technology be available when you open the new Hillcrest facility? I'm assuming that those operating rooms will have most of this equipment.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so we do try to have some of the same technologies in here that we do in our ORs, including we're looking ahead at the Hillcrest hospital as well.
Okay.
And I want to make sure I do a shout out here to Betty Garbutt, who has arranged not only this virtual tour this year, but all of our in-person tours in prior years. Thank you very much, Betty, for keeping us aware of this amazing center. And Dr. Stroud, really a great thanks to you for the work that you all are doing there. Again, I've been a personal beneficiary of it, but it's just truly amazing work. Thank you.
Awesome, you're welcome. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Betty, for helping to arrange this.
Okay, not at all.
Have a great day. Thank you
Okay,
all.
you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.